Hey guys, Krackakhan here, and Bull Moose is over there on his usual right side of the screen for me. Um, we are going to be doing a recap of this last Wednesday's episode because due to a few misconfigurations on both Twitch and OBS, we did not have it recorded and it was just streamed. So we're going to do a little recap for those who missed it. And the topic was games that were disappointing to us, not necessarily bad games, but in some way we were disappointed. Yeah, let's just get right into it. I guess I'll kick it off. Since this is just a recap, there won't be a lot of back and forth. We'll just talk about which ones we brought up, I guess. I guess starting out with Mass Effect Andromeda, which didn't really feel like a Mass Effect game to me. I kind of lost interest in it pretty quickly. The voice acting was completely different, which kind of took me out of it. Maybe that was because of the voice actor strike. I thought it was like needlessly open world. It was too big for too little content and kind of lost. It wasn't good pacing with the main story. Another one I did was Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Again, another game that didn't really feel like the games that came before it. Didn't really feel like a Call of Duty game. It just felt like it was trying to rip off Titanfall or Destiny or something, trying to add in all these special moves, or Halo. It kind of felt like Halo Reach a little bit, where it was mixing in like moves and combos like that. And yeah, the story was not that good. I don't even remember what it was, honestly. Didn't finish it. And yeah, you can do one. I've been doing a lot of talking. So you can do one of yours.
Okay, yeah, I would say the first one for me, and it's because I got it very recently and me and Krackakhan played together, was Star Wars Battlefront. Now, I will say I didn't go into this game with the idea that it was going to be good. It was very, very unfinished. Even it's been over a year now that it's been released. It felt very unfinished. The spawns were terrible. It didn't feel like a Battlefield game. There was a little bit of a feeling of pay to win there. Really, all it was people randomly throwing thermal detonators in the air and getting kills. I just thought the game was downright terrible, and there was really no redeeming qualities of it.
Yeah, that pretty sums it up. Everyone was using the same game. It was just kind of a rage fest on our part when we started playing.
Yeah.
The next one for me, that was not a bad game, but I was a little disappointed in it, was Dragon Age 2. It was just kind of repetitive, and they reused too much of the same scenery and enemies and everything. The story was okay, but I didn't also like the combat switch to like more action-paced and like taking pretty much all the combat out of it. Or not the combat, the tactics out of it. I kind of like the combat of the first one. And they threw a lot of insignificant moral choices at you. I think that's BioWare's big thing, is like throwing all these moral choices where you're like, oh, I can do this choice and be a good guy, or do this and be a bad, or kind of blur the lines. But just too many that didn't matter. You did Star Wars Battlefront. No Man's Sky, obviously, is one that was super hyped. Everyone knows that it did not deliver on that.
Terrible.
I came in with really lowered expectations. Even I didn't even buy into the hype. I was like, if they deliver like a quarter or a third of what they are promising here, this will be an enjoyable game with a lot of stuff in it. But it was just kind of like a walking simulator. You're just walking around on enemy planets with your suit yelling at you that you're out of oxygen and environmental protection, and your plane running out of fuel. Did I just do two? You can do another one.
This game I love now, but on its initial release, I hated it, and that's Diablo 3. Diablo 3 now is a fantastic game. I have well over 200 hours into it. I play every season, and I really enjoy it, but the initial release of Diablo was terrible. They thought that since Diablo 2 was such a hit that they were just going to pretty much update the graphics and make a third game out of it. But they had to find out that people didn't like playing through the story mode over and over and over again in order to get gear, which was extremely rare to drop at that point in the game. And then they also did something where they had a real money auction house, and the real money auction house just ruined like anyone. Like, you don't have to grind for anything. My buddy paid $6 to gear out his monk to the level of endgame content, like he was maxed. And it was ridiculous. And as soon as they got rid of the endgame content and added a different style of leveling up, getting gear, getting Paragon levels, the game became fantastic. But the initial release was such a flop. But I will say it leaves me optimistic to think that when games are released very imperfect, that if the company really wants to, they can make them perfect again.
Mm-hmm. Well put. It's a good example. Another one, Warhammer 40k Death Watch, which is kind of like the Left 4 Dead or Vermintide type of game, but set in Warhammer 40k universe, which I'm a big fan of. And I was excited for it, but it seems like the gameplay and content was kind of lacking, and there was like just a ton of performance and frame rate issues that just kind of like plagued it and led to it not getting good reviews at all, and I ended up not even trying it out or purchasing it, so that was kind of bummed me out. I was looking forward to that. Another one is Empire Earth 2 and 3, going back to more old school games here. I was a huge fan of Empire Earth, those RTS games, created at like the same time as like Age of Empires 2, around that time. And yeah, I thought it was a really great game. And then the second ones came out, and the story kind of crap, and kind of like backstepped on graphics and gameplay, and they divided it all up into like little sections on the map that you would have to conquer, instead of just having it an open world where you can build with it wherever, which is kind of a backstep as well, in my opinion. So you can do one of yours now.
I will say, and this game wasn't bad again. It was, I'd say it's like a 7.5 out of 10. And that's Ukulele. I waited 10 plus years to get essentially a Banjo Kazooie 3. And the game came out and it was not good. Like, it's very imperfect. It felt very rushed, especially for a game that they delayed for so long. It was recycled. A lot of the events and puzzles were recycled Banjo Kazooie 1 and 2 games. Well, Banjo Tooie, not Banjo Kazooie 2. But recycled. It was clunkier, which I don't know how you do that. Like, it's so much older, but it was clunkier. Some of the things were a little bit more rage-inducing, and they didn't add anything new. It was just, it was almost the exact same game with the exact same concepts. And you can't do that when you've delayed a game for so long. It just, very imperfect game. Not what I was expecting, not what I was wanting.
Mm-hmm. And then I had a couple ones that were disappointing to me that had nothing to do with the game, just like the circumstances of me playing it. One was, I was really excited. I was a fan of the Total War series, from Shogun Total War and especially Medieval Total War. It's still one of my favorites. And then Rome Total War came out, and I was excited for that, and I bought it, and I tried to install it, and it was kind of a gear check for my computer. It was not up to the task of playing it, and I don't even think that the install disk let me install it. I think it was like, you're not even ready for this. So I had to like have it sitting on my shelf looking at me for like months, maybe like half a year, until I could buy a better computer and actually play it. So that was kind of depressing there. Another one was Final Fantasy VIII that's on the PlayStation 1, right? So on the PlayStation 1, and I think I bought it used, and it had like a tiny scratch on it, and like the whole game worked fine. And back in the days when there was like a million discs too, so I was on like disc 4 or something. I was like at the very end before the final bosses or something, and then that scratch came into play. It was like in the middle of a cinematic playing, and it locked up there, and then tried it a bunch of times and it kept locking up there. And I had to go through like all the old school strategies of like using toothpaste and peanut butter and little home machines where you can try and like scrub it down and like get rid of the scratch, which eventually I did. So that's cool. There's a happy ending, but it was just a long process of being right there and then just watching it lock up and freeze.
I have a very similar story to that. And it's, okay, back on the Diablo thing. Top 3 gaming series of all time for me. I wanted to play Diablo 2 so bad. I went to a friend's house, like almost right when it came out, and his parents got it for him, and he was playing it on computer. It was multiplayer, so you could see other people running around doing quests. Like, it was very exciting. Well, I begged and begged and begged my mom to get it for me. She wasn't like particular with the game she bought me, but for some reason that game just was not something she wanted me to have. She always was like, it's got a demon on the box. It's called Diablo, which is the devil. She was like, no way, I'm not getting it for you. So I begged, and like I would probably say either a month to 2.5 months. I begged her for that game. Eventually she gets it for me. I remember the whole time she's driving me home, I'm like opening up the little box, like looking at it, like, oh my God, I'm going to play this game. I can't wait. Well, I get home and just like Krackakhan said, it was like 6 install discs. And I was putting it in, taking one out, putting another one in, super excited, right? Get the game fully downloaded. And I make my barbarian and I'm like, let's play. I take 2 steps, game crashes. I'm like, oh no. My computer like reboots. I start trying it again. I do it. 2 steps, game crashes. I start to cry. Like, and it's not like a boo-hoo poor me cry. It's like just I'm somber. Like I have my head hanging and like tears are just falling. And my mom's like doesn't know why I'm so upset. And I'm like, the game won't work. And like, there's nothing in life I wanted more than for this game to work. So my mom worked with a maintenance guy at her job. She was a nurse, and the maintenance man liked computer games and working on computers. Thank the gods for that. So we go to his house on like a Saturday. She doesn't even tell me that this guy's going to fix the computer or, fix getting Diablo installed or anything like that. We just take my computer over there. He starts talking to me about video games. He loves Diablo 1. He loves Diablo 2. So he eventually fixes my computer, and we get it installed, and I played on the same Diablo account through 3 computers from when I was in the 3rd grade all the way up until I was a freshman in high school. I had some times where I didn't play it as much, but I played it pretty consistently. Mm-hmm. So there's a happy ending on my end.
Yeah. All right. And I think that's everything, right? I think that's a good recap. So yeah, that's a quick recap of this episode. Going forward, we're going to have the full episodes up on YouTube, and on Wednesdays at 8 to 9 or 9-ish, we will be streaming live on Twitch, and our name is quest_cast on there. So come check us out. We'd love to hear from you when we're doing that, when we're streaming the podcast. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.